I'm going to catch a lot of criticism for this because people put our words into different contexts than we intended and say it doesn't work in this narrow view that I've created here, therefore it doesn't work for anyone, anywhere, at any time. After you have an interaction with someone that doesn't go well, ask yourself, what part of that conversation was my fault? And ask, is there a better way I could have handled that? The answer to both of those questions should always be yes. To the unskilled negotiator, this sounds like victim blaming, but the reality is that it's quite the opposite. And practicing a different mindset can put a certain amount of power back into your hands. Yes, I'm sure it was their fault, and yes, I'm sure you think that they don't care as much about something as you do. But still, I at least ask, what could I have done better? This is mental exercise. So this is essentially removing yourself from the possibility of victimhood. See, one can essentially program themselves out of trying in life when they allow their insecurities to take over. Don't be afraid to ask what you can do better. Sometimes narcissism is a manifestation of insecurity. If this seems off to you, you may be surprised to learn just how many people are afraid to try new things. Things like play a musical instrument or something along those lines, simply due to a fear of failure. When I was teaching, it was not uncommon for me to come across students with that trait. Again, this is not victim blaming, it's quite the opposite, it's empowering. Something I never would have considered on my own, but was pointed out to me by Robert Greene in his book on power, The 48 Laws of Power. That's become sort of cliche now, I realize. In order to have some power in your life, you have to be able to recognize other people's flaws and the ways in which you can manage their flaws. Sometimes it isn't productive for you to feel that it's your responsibility to change people. So if you feel like you need better negotiation skills or you feel like you need more power, then always ask, how could I have handled that conversation better? If you feel like you need less power, then ask, how could I have handled that conversation better? Either way, everyone can benefit from asking how they could have handled a conversation better. And yes, I'm sure the person you were speaking with was an asshole, and yes, I'm sure it was their fault. And I'm sure you're upset because you think they don't care as much about something as you do. I'm going to digress for a moment, but that's usually because two people are having different conversations, but they don't realize it. One way to recognize that is to, early on in a conversation, ask, can you state the fundamental point you're trying to make in one sentence? When you do that, you often realize that you and the person you're arguing with are arguing about two separate things and you didn't even realize it. But again, I digress. This is a thought experiment. It's a brainstorming exercise. Everyone can benefit from it. Do it.